Hi everyone, this is Jonathan Baumgart, the CEO of Atomic Consulting, and today we're going to talk about banking challenges for unregulated or non-licensed Forex brokers. This video is being recorded in 2020, and it's increasingly becoming more challenging for new FX brokers that don't have a license or regulation to get any type of payments. You may ask why this is the case. So I think it would be helpful to provide some background in this video so you have a better understanding as to why these challenges exist. So to start, most regions around the world, whether it's Europe, most of Asia, the United States, which generally is off limits, but just to name it, most of these regions require a license if you want to basically operate as a Forex broker. For this reason, there's very few places in the world that don't require a license. So your options are very limited if you're just starting off a broker and you're operating unregulated. You really only have a handful of places where you can get decent banking. And we strongly discourage our clients from trying to run a broker in a country that requires regulation. So as an example, we are often approached by clients who want to set up a company in Cyprus, but they don't have a license. We don't work with these kind of brokers because you can't operate in Cyprus without a license. The same would go for Bulgaria or other parts of Europe. For this reason, banking is more tough because you're limited to the only regions, which are mostly offshore, that will allow you to operate unlicensed. The second reason is that FX falls into a high-risk category among banks. And this is very important to understand. See, when it comes to business accounts for banks, they are not as case by case or selective like you would find in an individual account. What this means is they're not going to sit down with you, look at who you are, have a look at your finances, and then make a decision. If you simply say that you're operating in FX, the bank has basically put you into a high-risk category. You can't escape this category. You can't really negotiate around it. You're viewed as high risk. And as a result, most banks are just going to say no. When they hear the word CFDs or Forex, the answer is no. They won't sit down. They won't look. They won't make a case-by-case decision. Exceptions always exist. If it's a very large account, which proves more stability, then some banks may be more flexible. But generally, in these cases, the firms end up obtaining a license because they have the necessary means to do so. So it doesn't make sense anyway for them to get, let's say, an offshore bank account for the broker. So the third is kind of related to this, but basically the FX industry just in general kind of has a reputation, unfortunately, for fraud. That's not the case with most of the regulated brokers out there. Exceptions do exist. But in addition to being generally classified as high risk, even if the bank is open to high risk accounts, they often don't look favorably on a Forex broker. So it's a risk within the high risk category. And this is why, for example, if you're looking for a bank account and you keep getting turned down, you can maybe understand the situation better. So it's not easy. You will face a lot of difficulties if you shop around from large banks to small to medium, and all of them keep saying no, no, no. That's normal. Even for us as consultants in this industry with a lot of experience, it's incredibly hard for us to find any banking solution at all that's going to work. So if you're coming to our website, if you saw this video, if you read one of our articles, and you're saying, why is this so difficult? I hope these reasons, can help you. Now, do we have some solutions? Yes, we do, but they're very much case by case. I don't even want to say that we can find you something because it really depends on your company's background, the kind of history, whether or not you have a license. All these factors come into play. But if you're a brand new firm, you're going to struggle with this. And on the same note, it also goes for payment service provider solutions, also known as PSPs. What this means for those who are new are basically companies that will allow your broker to offer Visa and MasterCard payments via a credit or debit. So if your clients or end users would like to make a payment with Visa or MasterCard, the way this works is they need to partner up with a PSP or payment service provider. Once again, these providers perceive FX as high risk. In fact, most of them don't even work with FX. And it's even more difficult to try to find a payment service provider that will work with an unlicensed broker. The biggest reason why relates to chargebacks. So a chargeback works like this. Let's say you're a client of one of these payment service providers and you offer FX trading to your clients, and you disappear. Your broker goes away, which has happened in the past and is one of the reasons that FX is high risk. Well, the traders or the customers of this broker will start to complain because their money was also gone. So the person they complain to are Visa and MasterCard. They will lodge a case, and Visa and MasterCard are large organizations. Generally what happens, not in all cases, but they'll take the side of the client, and to make sure that the client continues to work with them to some capacity, they will reimburse either the full amount lost or partial, which is called a chargeback. And the money that's eaten away will be shared by perhaps the client of the provider who referred them, or Visa and MasterCard themselves. All kind of depends. For this reason, these providers are often very hesitant to work with FX brokers, because if the broker disappears, then they're on the hook in many cases for a lot of this money. And unfortunately, the new brokers who end up looking to start something new and perhaps have no intent to do this get punished, because the providers don't want to work with them. They're afraid of chargebacks and other risks associated with our industry. And if the company doesn't hold a license, then they have no one to contact to potentially recover the funds. That's why a license, a Forex broker license, makes the most sense. And that's what I'm going to get into now. If you obtain a Forex broker license, you really eliminate this challenge as it relates to banking. Why? Well, a bank is more willing to work with a broker that has a license. The reason is some regulatory body, whether it's offshore, whether it's in Europe or Asia, some body has done their due diligence. They've vetted this broker, they've analyzed their company, they've performed their own risk assessment and determined that this broker is acceptable. And that means that the bank has less of a risk that the broker is just going to get up and disappear. The reason is quite simple. Regulation is all about transparency. You can't get a license unless you tell the regulator who you are. So the bank also knows who you are. That makes it much more difficult to run away. And the same thing for payment service providers. They're much more open to working with a licensed company because they know who the owners are. There's a regulator who can also track them. So if a licensed company were just to get up and run away with client deposits, the regulator and the service provider have some trail to follow. This is why, if you're very serious about doing this, you want to consider obtaining a Forex broker license. Now, I talk to a lot of those who want to start a broker, and the finances aren't there, which is normal. It requires a fair amount of capital to obtain a license. Well, we also have a solution there. An advantage in partnering with us is we have a massive network of brokers spread across all parts of the globe that are willing to partner with your firm. The way the partnership works would be as follows. You would refer business or become a referral agent to one of these brokers, and they would allow you to leverage their banking. Now, you may say, well, I want the banking myself. True, but if you pay attention to what I mentioned in the video, it's next to impossible. So you either have the option of getting a license or taking this partnership option. And in another video that I'll shortly make, I'll discuss how to become a referral agent or an introducing broker. It often is associated with not earning as much money, but that's not the case. You can actually generate a fair amount of money, and it can be quite lucrative to be an introducing broker. And an advantage is you don't have half the overhead and costs and headaches that a normal broker does. So there definitely are options for you, even if you can't get a bank account or access to a PSP, and we can help you out. So thank you very much for listening to our video today. If you would like to learn more about our partnership option, or if you want to explore a license, then just click below. You'll find our contact information. Feel free to schedule a call with myself or a member of our team, and we're happy to discuss this with you further. So thank you very much, and bye.